think we give self awareness a little bit too much authority because you can be deeply self aware.
Uh, thank you, friend, for putting that together. Um, sorry, there was somebody with music on. Couldn't think, and now there's an alert. So the way I applied this, what she mentions, constructive self-awareness. I don't know. I'm just calling it that. Is in this way. Whenever I would get into an altercation, a discussion, misunderstanding, or whatever you want to call it, at the end of the night, or some short time after, or at some point, I would ask myself a critical question: can they be right? Of whatever they would tell me about me. So it's very similar to what she mentions. That I, at one point, put it in this way: in quality assurance, that's what I used to do. You have a list of basically points that need to be met in order for something to be true. In terms of my job, it was like, let's say, this application should be doing, X, Y, and Z. X, Y, Z. The sanity checklist in this case is: does it meet X? Does it meet Y? Does it meet Z? And if it does, then the answer is yes, right? So something similar to that. In terms of each belief, like Byron Katie, the author of Loving What Is, she does a similar approach that I unwittingly did by myself, expanding on the Socratic method of questioning reality. And this content creator touches upon that same point, that you're looking at you're introspecting and you're breaking it down, right? Like Byron Katie says. For me, how that looked was whatever the other person was telling me, I would ask myself, can they be right? She applies it the same way that Byron Katie says, and she wrote this book in the 80s, in terms of whatever you're telling something to somebody, the last step is you flip it around and you ask it about yourself. So when you put those two things together, either whatever you're saying, you flip it around and see if it applies to you, or whatever they're telling you, you ask yourself, can they be right? And then you go on to, like the content creator mentioned, you break it down. So that has worked for me for the longest time. I think I started applying that for myself maybe almost 20 years ago. And I got into some doozies of, back and forth. Still do from time to time, but each time, as bad as it can be, as bad as they can be yelling at me, or bad feelings, or just a total breakup for X, Y, and Z reason, I analyze it. Because for me, the way that I started applying that, somebody knows he is paying attention, but the way that I started to apply this was that, um, my default growing up, because of my trauma, um, in order to keep myself safe, because of just having experienced so much chaos in my childhood. Sorry, that was distracting. Kind of threw me off, but because it was so challenging, just feeling safe in my own environment, I was proactive about analyzing everything. I was hyper aware, right? So my default over the years was basically breaking down everything. But every time that I did that, I learned something new, especially when I was breaking down what people were telling me. Some things were reinforced, others had to be adjusted, and to present day, same thing is happening. That I look at whatever I tell about myself, the story I tell myself, my self-talk, and if somebody basically says something about me, an insult, whatever it may be, whatever observation, you know, I may engage with them in this yes, yes, like no, I'm not, yes, you are, that kind of thing. But at some point, it kind of, as an automatic process, it just kicks in. Can they be right? So I highly encourage, you add this to your own repertoire of unpacking, of deconstructing yourself. Ask yourself, can they be right? What you're telling them, does it apply to me? That will go a long way. I hope that helps.